Well, welcome back. We're looking at a 2001 Ford Focus. Needs a new ignition cylinder. It's sticking and the key's not working very well on the one that's in there. It's got a lot of miles, about 260,000 miles on it. It's just worn out. There's the new part, basically. This is directly from Motorcraft, and this is one cylinder that you can buy these two ways. So you can buy a cylinder that comes with keys. You don't have to key it. You can buy one that just comes with a kit with the tumblers, and then you match it to the existing key. So that's what this one is. We're going to match this to the existing key. I've done this one already, but I'm going to take apart part of it and show you how to do it. It's not very difficult. It comes with these tumblers. It comes with 5 different numbers, and there's 4 or 5 of each one, and you have to match this tumbler to the key. One of the things also that comes with this is a diagram that kind of shows you, let's see if I can get you to see that, the layout of the key and the numbers and how they match up. So I'm going to carefully take this out of here because they have springs in them. I'm going to tape the one side back up so I don't have to worry about having a problem with it. I will say the biggest thing you got to watch when you're doing these is the springs. I'll show you one of the springs. They're really, really small, and it's if you're not careful, you'll lose them, and you need to have them. So when the key is in the cylinder, tumblers won't come out. It's holding them in place. But I'm taping up the one set of them, so I'll just show you this before I tape it up. There's a set on either side, so there's a set on this side, and if you turn it 180 degrees, there's a set on that side. Total of 6, as I said before. To show you this, I'm just going to tape one side up. So I don't have to worry about the springs pushing them out. I've greased this. It comes with grease as well. So after you figure out your keys and how to what matches the key, you want to grease them. So I've greased them, but I'm going to take the key out and watch that I don't lose any of these springs. I think the grease will pretty much hold it in place. I'll know in a second. Set the key aside. You can see as soon as I took that key out, they pop up. The tumblers pop up because there's a spring in each one of them that's pushing them up. Let me show you the spring. I'll get a shot of the spring here. I have one extra one. It comes with an extra. Let me find it, if I can find it, and show you how small they are. I don't really want to take the ones out that I have in there because they're so small, and I've greased them already, so they're not going to want to come out of there. So in that bag, right there, in the middle, you can see that spring. You see my finger, you see how small they are. They're very small. Here you can see the different bags and tumblers that come, and they're all numbered. So the way these numbers work is the full width of the key. The wider the key, the lower the number. So if the cut is all the way up to the full width of the key, that's a 1. And as the cut gets bigger, the numbers get bigger. So this area in here, which is cut basically as small as you can cut it, they're 5s. This particular key, this first notch right here, that's the first tumbler. And then what you can do is like that's a 2, basically. I could just guess at that, but I'll show you how to check it. So I have this one here, which is a 5. And I'm going to take the first tumbler out, which is the one closest to the point, and you can see when I stick the key in there and the right tumbler is in there, I'm going to wipe this off. Just wipe the top of this off here and get some of the grease off the outside. I have more, so I'll put more on there. I'm using the grease to hold these in place because without the grease, the springs will come push those tumblers right out of there. You can see, I'll try to show you this, when it's the right tumbler and the key's in place, they'll be level with the top of the cylinder. So all these are correct. Get another piece of tape. I do not want to lose these springs. I actually dropped one of these, believe it or not, on my garage floor, and I found it, which was pretty amazing in itself because they're so small, but you're better off just not dropping them. I'm going to tape the one side of this because I don't need that to show you how this works. So pull the key out. Now they're all loose, they can come out. So this one right here, let's see if I can get you a little better shot of that. So we're going to go with this first key right here. This first key, or this first tumbler. And I'm just going to pull this one out carefully, paying attention to make sure the spring doesn't come out with it. It's a little easier to do with a pair of pliers. They're not in there tight, it's just I've greased them, so a little hard to get a hold of. So I'm going to pull that one out, watching the spring that's sitting down in the hole. And it stayed in there because it's got grease all over it. So that's a 2. I'm going to stick a 5 in there. I know it's not right, but that's kind of what I want to show you how it works. Should be able to, it sits down there, it looks normal now, but when you stick the key in, get the key going here, if you can see that slot right here, you'll see it's sticking way down in there, and it's actually pushing out the other side. It's actually way out on the other side right there. So that's not lined up right. They have to be flush on both sides. So that's how you can gauge whether you have the right tumbler. And you just try different tumblers till you get the right one in that position. So I'll put the 2 back in there that I had. Pull the key out here. Get out of my own way so you can see something. Pull that key out carefully. Set it aside. Pull the one out I just know is not the right one. Just being careful and wary of that spring that's sitting in there. Okay. And put what I know is the right one, I'll put that back in. That's number 2 in this case. And I'll show you that one more time when I put that key in there. And I'm only doing I only changed the first position. Now you can see how that slot, I don't know if I can show it to you here, get it in the right spot. You see how that, when I just put it right in there by my thumb, is flush with the top of the cylinder. That's what I want, and that means it's the right number tumbler that's in there. So you do that for all of them on both sides. And then when you're done, it comes with grease. You want to grease them, basically. Push some grease in there, keep them lubricated. I'm just going to put a little more here because I wiped some off. Just run some grease on it. Push it back down in there. Keep the key in it, they won't come out. You leave the key in it. So then here's the outside that the cylinder fits into. And I'm just going to push it into the cylinder. It'll only go one way. Locks in there. And then we'll put a clip on the back here. I'll show you how to do that. But that's basically it. So as long as I leave it in that cylinder, they can't come out. You don't have to worry about losing them. That's it for setting them up. So just take your time. Find the right tumbler for each position. And when it's level with the cylinder, when you put the key in, then it's correct. And then you know what it is. If you have to, you can do them one at a time and write them down and then put them all in together. I just use a little, I did one side, put a piece of tape on it because the springs will push them back out and you don't want to lose them. And then I flipped it over and I did the other side and put a piece of tape on that to hold it in place to check it to make sure it's right. Okay, now that I've got the tumbler in the mechanism, in the housing, and the key in there, these keys for this car have a chip in them. So you can't just switch keys. If you get a new set of keys, you have to actually get you have to reprogram the key. I don't have the equipment to do that. If you have the original key, this is an original key which is not worn, you can go to somewhere like Home Depot and they will actually do a new chipped key for you. It starts around $65 and up. But unfortunately I have the original, which was never really used much. So that's what I keyed the new cylinder off of. So now that I have the key in there, what I want to do is there's a clip that goes on the back. I'm just going to use a pair of snap ring pliers and see if I can get that to, and slip that on. Fits right in there. There's a groove to hold that clip in there. And like I said, the round part of this away from the, where you would grab the clip, goes on the square side of that cylinder. So now that can't come out basically. You pull the key out, the cylinder will stay in there. We'll take the cover, we'll slide the cover in. Really can only go in one way. Only fits in there one way. Get it lined up here. Make sure we're lined up okay. We are. Cylinder turns. That's good. Now you have this little cover that goes on top of that, and you've got to crimp that down. This housing, this little cover that goes on here, I've crimped it on here now, but you can see on the edge of this there's 4 spots where there's a punch. There's a hole punched in it, a rectangular hole, and if you look against the housing, you'll see that there are parts of this where it's recessed. The lip of the inside cylinder is recessed, and what you want to do is just take a punch underneath those rectangular holes and hit it, tap it with a hammer and crimp it in. And there's 4 of them. I crimped them all in, so now this cover is on there. It won't come off. We'll just check the key one more time. It works, and then we'll go and insert this into the car. I've got the new cylinder here, the key. You'll notice that where you actually spread this ring out, the retainer, that it sticks out from the cylinder, it's out past it. That has to line up with the groove in the housing. So to do that, we know that the retainer is right here. So you can't get that in there initially because it's not lined up. You have to stick the key in and turn the key. When you turn that key, it's going to move that ring. So we line that retainer pin up basically where it needs to go. We turn this till it lines up, and we can slide it in. So now you can just push that in and it locks into place. So that cylinder's locked in there right now. So this should start. Goes right up. That's it. Do it again. Okay, so there's your new cylinder. So the cylinder that we had before, you could hardly turn the key in. So now we have a brand new cylinder. The original key, one of the original keys that was not used, so it's not worn. So there's no reprogramming of the keys, and it's fixed. So we're just going to put it all back together now. So there's a couple things here. Just this comes apart pretty easily. You know, the little clips, plastic clips. One thing that you need to do, there's the tilt mechanism for the steering wheel. When you put this piece of plastic, if you leave it up, it's going to be in the way. So you want to undo that and push it down and then slide it through the slot in the housing, in the plastic housing. You should be able to just slide this back up into place. So you got to wiggle it a little bit to get it in there. A little bit of a pain, but it's a little tight, but it's okay. So that's about it. Pretty easy job. It takes about 15 minutes to get the cylinder out of the car. The longest part is just keying the new cylinder to match the key. I would recommend doing that if you have a good key, rather than taking a new key and having to have it reprogrammed to match the car. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it helps you out. If you like the video, subscribe below. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna have such a bloopers reel. I don't remember what it was. There was one other thing. I got nothing.